video games, music, video game music, music in video games. As long as there have been games, there has been music in them. Actually, no, that isn't true. Generally, when making a soundtrack, you want the music to fit it. Whether that be through the tone you're trying to create, or the themes you're trying to convey, or just, you know, the general vibes of the game. We come to expect certain things with our video game soundtrack. Mario sounds like this. Until he doesn't. Sonic sounds like this. Until he doesn't. As technology improves, the potential for soundtracks increases. There's a lot more you can work with on modern platforms compared to a Game Boy. Am I trying to make a point? No, not really. I think most people watching this know what a video game soundtrack is. What I want to highlight is when the song in the game isn't really what you would expect. Now when I say when the music doesn't fit the game, that doesn't mean it's bad or I don't like it. Dare I say, I love most of the music I'm going to talk about. Most of. It also doesn't mean composing these songs was a bad idea or that, oh, why did they go so hard? Because it's their job, they're supposed to try. I think the point is, it's funny when the soundtrack just isn't really what you expected. For example, sometimes the song is a bit more intense than you expected, whether it's due to the hardware you're playing it on or just the game itself. For example, I said that already. Donkey Kong 94. This is a follow-up to the Donkey Kong arcade game. A game without a whole lot of music. This new game, however, has music. And boy does it. The track Showdown at the Tower might be one of the most impressive songs I've heard on the Game Boy. Maybe too impressive. Like, there's a damn guitar solo in here on 4-bit hardware. This is like the Through the Fire and the Flames of the Game Boy. Wario Master of Disguise is not a very good game. It's not the worst, but I don't really look towards it for inspiration. Its design, lazy. Its visuals, lazy. Its music... This is a damn Toohoo song in my D-tier Wario spin-off. It doesn't even sound like Wario. Wario soundtracks had a vibe by this point. Actually, no, they didn't. They were kind of all over the place. But they didn't sound like this. There's like a sense of tragedy to this. Like, it sounds like a desperate struggle. The stupidest part? This song is literally called Count Cannoli. There was a Pokemon typing game. On the DS, no less. It had a silly little keyboard attachment. Only worked for this game. Conversation for another day. Here's the thing. The music is fine. It's standard upbeat music, kind of Pokemon-ish. Until you get to the boss theme. This song goes back and forth from one of the coolest songs I've ever heard in a game to one of the silliest just from existence alone. Like I said, it's the composer's job to make cool sounding music, but like no, they actually did go too hard this time. It fits the brand and all, but not a damn typing game. You ever hear about Tim Follin? To put it simply, he was a video game composer in the 80s and 90s. His work on the NES and SNES are very well renowned, with how goddamn crazy he went. What you're hearing now is a song from Silver Surfer on NES, which, you know, that's like an action game. It should sound intense. What about a game where you play as a stupid little man made of shapes? The Plock soundtrack is so funny to me, because, like, what is this game? I don't know Plock lore, like if this was supposed to start a franchise, but the only thing people really remember about this game is the soundtrack. So much about this shouldn't be possible. Like, people still don't know how he did it. Miyamoto thought there was a speaker behind the TV. That isn't even true. That didn't happen. There is one song in here that changed lives. The boss theme is like an actual masterpiece. It starts with an evil sounding laugh, shifts into spooky Halloween music. Then it just starts ramping up. The beat drops and it turns into a damn techno song. play Plock in the club, no one will notice. But what if you hate Plock? As you should. What if you like something like Pictionary? Tim, my guy, it's Pictionary. Relax. Your music too hard, your swag too crazy. But what if you hate Pictionary? What if you want something really stupid and limited in power? The ZX Spectrum. This is 1 bit, like less than 8, less than 4. God damn! I didn't even think it was possible to shred on a damn toaster.
I'm biting the fart bubbles into bath.
Horror. Obviously, if the setting of your game is spooky, you want the music to also be spooky. Typically, in non-horror games with a spooky setting, the music will just be what I like to call Halloween-esque. Like it isn't straight up scary. It's just spooky. However, sometimes the composer will not go spooky. Super Paper Mario is a very strange game. A lot about this game is just bizarre, especially for a Mario game. The music adds a lot to this overall weirdness. It's just straight up disorienting at times. You know what? I really like it. That being said, we gotta talk about this song. When this song plays, Mario is essentially in hell, and more specifically, he's descending further into hell. Like, this is what purgatory sounds like. Endless, everlasting suffering at the bottom of all existence. Mario. But what if we take the concept of general nightmare material through music and apply it to a part of the game that doesn't really make sense? The boss theme in the US version of Sonic CD. This genuinely really scared me as a kid. Like, I would mute the game when I got to the boss fight, so I didn't have to hear this song. That opening, it is honestly etched into my brain. It still creeps me out just thinking about it. Ugh. Why is this what they went for? Like, this doesn't fit Sonic CD's wacky colors and shapes theme. This sounds like a serial killer is going after you. This song is so scary. There is an Easter egg in Sonic CD that plays this song, and it's really, really scary. Also, a Piglet. This song was floating around for a while. This is real. This is a real track from Piglet's Big Game. It actually gets weirder the deeper you dig in. Because it turns out this section of the game is Baby's first Silent Hill. What the hell is this? Okay, let's just get a few out of the way real quick. Fire Emblem Three Houses theme has trap beats, Kingdom Hearts opens with J-pop, Symphony of the Night ends with this sultry little number, Twilight Princess has this song, Tekken 6 has this song, Guilty Gear Zerd has a damn rock ballad in it, Red Dead 2 has D'Angelo, Bowser's theme in Mario Galaxy has an operatic section, Sonic Rush's final boss music samples Malcolm X, and Wild Woody has a song that opens like this, and then turns into this. So bring it back, bring it back, bring it back, y'all, bring it back. Also, look up the Wild Woody soundtrack, it's barbaric. Actually, don't do that. Don't look up Wild Woody. For the longest time, Sonic kind of had a theme with its music. It wasn't full-on New Jack Swing like Sonic CD's Japanese soundtrack, but you could definitely hear that influence in the other soundtracks. It was poppy overall. People have done better analysis of this era of Sonic music. I'm not a music man. I don't know my stuff. But this is how Sonic sounded for nearly a decade. Until one day, everything changed. Suddenly, this is what Sonic sounded like. Butt rock, as it has now been deemed, sort of took over as the main style of Sonic music. At least in the main series, which is what we're talking about. Spin-offs are a whole other story. That's not to say there wasn't music that was not of this style, but that was also not really in the style of the older music. Eventually, when we get to modern day, and Sonic music sounds like this. At least the boss fights do. Other parts of the soundtrack sound like this. Which is also new. I remember when Sonic Frontiers came out, so many videos of people reacting to the boss themes had them saying, "This is from Sonic?" You see, you could see these changes as sudden, but I feel like there's a way to measure this. There's a general evolution. We start with the pop jazz influence, gradually evolve into more of J-pop, and then with the soft reboot of the series with Sonic Adventure, we saw it to something completely different, but still fitting the vibe the series created at this point. Then, over time, we start to lean more into electronic. What happens when you combine the intensity of rock music with the loudness of the electronic music? Devil May Cry 5. This makes sense to me. Except for this. Yeah, in 2013, they decided they wanted Sonic to not be Sonic anymore, and the music followed suit. This is barely reminiscent of anything that came before. If I had to pick, it sounds the most like Sonic Colors, but like, not really. I actually really like this soundtrack, and Sonic Lost World is honestly a bit of a guilty pleasure for me. I don't mind it. They work as something different, which, you know what? Sure. So, you know, maybe the soundtrack is what you'd expect. Not this, though. I don't really even need to talk about this one. We all know about this one. Why does Sonic R have dance pop? Ew, what the hell? Because it's funny! When Street Fighter 6 came out, people complained about how the music didn't sound very Street Fighter-y. Well, neither did this. Before 3, Street Fighter music was very anime action-y genre. But then 3 came along and it went to smooth jazz with a hip-hop influence. You know what's crazy? With 4 and 5, they went back to the prior style. This is because when it came out, people didn't like the music. People also didn't like the game, but that's another story. It's the same thing for Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Both the game and the soundtrack were pretty heavily criticized when it came out. But luckily, both with this and Street Fighter 3, time has been very kind to it. This game and its soundtrack catch a vibe unlike anything else I've ever seen. What do Marvel and Capcom have in common? Not this style of music, but somehow, when you combine them, it sounds like this. And now, this is how I hear both series. What did Wario Land music sound like before 4? And what did it sound like after? This video by Geno7 explains this better than I could, but the Wario Land 4 soundtrack and overall sound design have some of the most bizarre choices I've ever heard in a mostly mainstream game. And you know what? I love it for that. There are parts of this soundtrack that fully adapt to what is happening in the game. There are sections that only appear when you go into caves, like it adds an instrument or a different part of the song. When you crouch, the music slows down a little bit. Look at the extra songs in here too. You can find like little bonus discs and levels. These are straight up experimental sound collages. What the hell? I'm in too deep. When you look into the Wario hole, does it look back? Kirby Final Boss music. I guess just Kirby Final Bosses in general. So, what did we learn? Video games and their soundtrack should be allowed to be weird, even if the music doesn't really fit. It very rarely negatively impacts the experience. There are definitely examples of music that ruins the game or the section of the game you're playing, but I don't know. Who wants to talk about that? Negativity in my Discord server? Basically, if I could either have something weird and out of pocket, or something generic and boring, I'll take the one that I'll actually remember.